Hey gang, did the show solo today. Hopefully you enjoy it. Got some really good calls though. Captain Kyle Weaver called in from the Canaries and over there on the other side of the ocean, letting us know what's going on in his world. He's getting ready for his season. They're going to be chasing some big tunas and some big blue marlins and things over there. Also got calls from Captain Mike Mann, Rodney Sayre, Lisa from CCA, and a few others. So hopefully you enjoy today's show.
Welcome to another edition of Catch a Memory Outdoors right here on WWBC 1510 AM. We appreciate you guys and gals tuning in every Saturday morning to see what's going on. Got myself in the studio this morning right now, and hopefully Captain Mark Gibson will be joining me shortly. He was scheduled to be in today, so hopefully he will be making it here. I know that the weather's been a little, sloppy, a little messy out there, so unfortunately, we are having to deal with some of that right now, but hopefully you guys and gals aren't being too affected by it, and we'll get a chance to get out there and do some fishing, hopefully some point in time today. It's one of those weekends where we take a long weekend. We like the long weekends. We want to get out and do some things, grill in the backyard, get out on the water, do all those sorts of things. Yesterday, I'm going to tell you, yesterday was absolutely absolutely gorgeous out on the ocean, less than 3 foot, fairly wide period, and a little southwest wind. So it was a lot of fun to get out there and do our thing. Redfish. We had redfish yesterday. We had snook yesterday, jumped a couple of tarpon. So there's a lot of fish along the shoreline, but we have got cold water that's moved in once again. Yesterday, water temperatures, I came out of the port, it was 76 and a half, 77 degrees. By the time I got down to the pier, it was all the way down to 73 degrees. So there is a lot of cold water moving around out there. So if you guys and gals get a chance to get out, you are going to notice that. And the bait has been shuffled around accordingly because of that. Bait was a little difficult to the south yesterday. Actually, later in the day, I was up fishing around the launch pads, and I found a bunch of bait up between the Cape and the False Cape. So if you are getting out of the port, that's obviously the direction you probably should head if you're looking for those pogies, those menhaden. There's plenty of mullet along the shoreline right now too. So if you guys and gals get a chance to get right along the beach, that's primarily what I've been doing. In fact, if you listen to the last couple of shows that we've done for the Florida Insider Fishing Report, you'll notice that a lot of my reporting has been on fish around the mullet in the surf. Once you find mullet in the surf, if you find an area that they're congregating in, you're going to find redfish and snook under those mullet pods. And it doesn't really matter where you are up and down the beach. If you find mullet and they're staying, they're not just transitioning through, they're not just running, north or running south. If they're actually kind of sitting in an area, you will definitely find redfish and snook underneath them. So that's primarily what we did yesterday. And I'm just throwing shrimp on a jig head or shrimp on a paddle tail. We're throwing saltwater assassin 4-inch sea shads. Yesterday's best color was that slam and shad, but of the colors that we threw, which is kind of a white with a silver and gold flake on it. It's kind of a weird color, but it's called slam shad, and that color's actually been working really good. The day before where I was over in the Banana River with my group and jumped some tarpon in the Banana River. There's some big tarpon in the Banana River right now, 40 to 80 pound class fish, and you'll see them rolling around pods of bait fish. But when you find them, you just want to turn all your electronics off, turn everything off. If you have a bait well pump, you can't turn that off, to keep your bait alive. But just drift through the areas and let your mullet or your whatever you have netted work. Just slowly drifting it or slow trolling it on your trolling motor. And I'm using 50 to 60 pound leader and a 5-watt circle hook, and that seems to be working pretty good for those tarpon in there. But anyway, going back to that slam and shad color, we had, we were just pitching around mangroves and shorelines and things like that. Some of the flats out and around the Cocoa Beach, Merritt Island areas, and there are still some pretty decent fish running around out there. We got redfish up to 41 inches throwing that slam and shad color 4-inch sea shad. So anyway, good color to be using right now. Anyway, it sometimes colors change throughout the year, but right now that particular color seems to be working pretty good. So I would highly recommend using that color if you get a chance. And that's kind of a summary of the last 2 days. Run off the water both days by the rain. Obviously, that's probably going to happen again today. It is looking overcast out there already, and it's really moist. I think the humidity is around 95% right now. So it's pretty juicy out there, and it's going to stay that way most of the day. So, it is what it is. You guys and gals are just going to have to deal with it. You can work around the rain, and if there's thunderstorms, obviously get off of the water. So if you guys and gals want to give us a call, we'd love to hear from you. 321-632-1000 is our call-in line. That's 632-1000. Get us right here at the studio and call in and see what's going on. And if you have any questions, you can obviously call us here. Or if you want to you chime in on the Facebook feed, you can also chime in on the Facebook feed, see what's going on there. We always love to see who's on with us in the mornings. And I was actually going to see if Butch McCoy is on this morning. I don't know if he's on yet this morning, but I was going to see if Butch was on this morning because I wanted to see if that bait had moved back south. Butch has a condo out on the beach there at Cocoa Beach. I wanted to see if that bait had moved back south because yesterday it was all north. And generally, you find it south of the port on most days. So just wondering if he's seen what he's seeing out there this morning from his condo balcony window. I want to say good morning to a couple of guys. Got Jim Hamer's on right now. Shelly Robinson, good morning. How are you doing this morning? Bo Bergeron is on with us this morning. Daryl McCall's on with us this morning. I got to get with Daryl. I got a deal for you, Daryl. We'll talk about it after the radio show. See if you're interested. But I got a little deal cooking in my brain. So hopefully you're on board with what I've got going on. We'll see. But looking forward to getting back and seeing you again. Hadn't seen Daryl in quite some time. Good guy. Last time I saw him, we were actually down at La Jolla. I pulled up to the dock and we were running by. We were actually running through Little Basin, coming back from the bridge. We'd been down chasing the permit and came back up through. Thought about pulling into Lorelei, and I'm like, I'm going to pull around the corner there and see what's going on at La Jolla because I knew Daryl was going to be in there for his birthday. Got a chance to stop in and say hey to him and a couple of his friends that he was down there with, and then we went off to go chase tarpon over Whale Harbor. Because that's what my wife likes to do. She likes chasing those tarpon, that's for sure. But yeah, good seeing him. Haven't seen him since then, so it's been a little over a month since I've seen Daryl. Got to get back in touch with him. But like I said, if you guys and gals want to get involved, 321-632-1000, that's our call-in line. Remember, you can always, if we're not on Facebook for whatever reason, you can always get us on the WWBC app. That app's really easy. Just go to the App Store, download it. It doesn't matter if you've got an iPhone or an Android. There's applications for each one, and you can listen to us anywhere that you happen to be over that WWBC app. So it's pretty cool that that's available, as well as obviously our radio station broadcast signal. So hopefully you guys and gals get a chance to check that out. The audio has been really good on that as well. I've been really impressed with the quality of the audio that comes over that app. So that's obviously keep that in mind. Well, guys and gals, getting ready to take our first break of the morning here. Do a couple of things while I'm on the break, and hopefully we will be right back. Hey, gang, welcome back. This segment of the show is brought to you by Integrity Pest Management. So, if you have any kind of furry wildlife or if your home is under attack from some kind of pests or termites, obviously you want to give Integrity Pest Management a call. They specialize in getting rid of pests, termites, and wildlife safely and effectively. With years of experience and a commitment to integrity, they protect your home from unwanted invaders and using eco-friendly and efficient solutions. So don't wait for the damage to pile up. Call Integrity Pest Management today for a free inspection and let them restore peace and security to your home. It's easy. Call them at 321-637-1199. That's 637-1199. Or you can visit them at integritypestmanagement.com. Integrity Pest Management, where your house safety and your peace of mind are their top priority. We're going to go to the phone lines. Got Cap Kyle on the line this morning, calling in from where is Kyle this week?
Kyle this week is in Grand Canary Island.
In Grand Canary this week. Okay. Now, I have a question, Kyle. So when you make posts, you are in when you post the name of the island, it's something de Fuentes, something or other. I don't even know what what it is. Is that Grand Canary or is that?
No, I was in Morocco, then went to Lanzarote, and from Lanzarote to Gran Canaria to the shipyard. And then hopefully I splash Monday morning and then go from there to Madeira to the Azores and start our season.
Okay. Well, there's somewhere where you post from that is like a 3-word name or 2 to 3 word name whenever you text, whenever you put your location in.
Who knows? I can't keep track everywhere. I get phone calls and they don't show up. They show up Belgium, but like weird phone numbers, but it'll be somebody from the United States. So it just had the phone systems, I think, work.
Interesting. So you're in Gran Canaria right now, and they're offloading the boat at the shipyard?
No, I'm in the shipyard. I had to get some work done, and then hopefully I go back in the water Monday, possibly Tuesday. I'm hoping for Monday because I got a weather window starting Tuesday to start making our way to the Azores.
Gotcha. Now, are you still on board the 150-footer, or are you running the smaller boat?
I'm on the sport fish boat, and the 150 right now is currently in the mid. I don't know where they're at right at this moment, but they're touring the med again this year, and then we'll fish, and then I think we're going to Cape Verde, and then I think the big boat might come home and do the Caribbean for the winter.
Oh, gotcha. And then just leave the fishing boat over there?
Yeah, it's looking like we might do another year over here. I'm hoping, so we'll see how things go.
Gotcha. So I know you like that older boat. It's what, a 54 Bertram?
Yep, it's an older 54 Bertram, but it's got all the modern electronics, the top of the line with you name it, we've got it. And it was redone, and the old 54, she's a battle wagon. She's not modern looking like the old, the newer boats, but she was one of the best riding boats back in the day, and she's built like a tank. And I don't need a ton of room. Being with the yacht, I don't have people staying on board other than crew.
So that makes it nice.
Yes.
Well, I think the one thing that you were saying is there's two things that you liked about that boat. One, I guess, was the ease of maintenance because it didn't have all the newest, latest, greatest electronic features on the motors. Why don't you talk about, you're in a foreign country where parts are hard to get. You don't need things breaking down, right?
Correct. Oh, for example, we came over here to have Caterpillar, only Caterpillar dealer in the whole area without going another 1,000 miles is in Gran Canaria. And I needed to check some valves and stuff like that with the computer. I mean, it's old, but they still put a computer on it. And when we got here, the engines checked out fine, which was great, and then I have a bad shaft seal. So I had to haul out and, of course, get a shaft seal flown in. And, now I have to pull out the shafts, put the new seal in and all that. So just normal stuff, unfortunately. It's part of the boat business. But, they don't have that kind of stuff here, and they're not used to working on these size sport fish years. Everything here is sailboats and small boats.
Gotcha.
So it's just the logistics. Like right now, just fighting with power. I'm on a different power source, and I noticed like underneath the boat, like some of my metals are turned a little bit of color. I'm like, all of a sudden I got zapped a little bit. Well, they don't have it grounded properly here, so then I had to come up with a way to ground my boat, and now I can't get power. So I need all the tools I have run on American power, and I can't just plug them in unless I'm converting power, which is what the boat takes. So logistics, it's fun stuff.
Logistics, yeah. But you were saying that, even though all of those, there are a lot of hurdles to get through if you do have some issues, you have you have really, really good harmonics in that boat. And apparently that's what one of the things that you really like about that boat.
Yeah, this boat, there's certain boats that definitely raise fish. We always say you get on a boat and you get teaser bites all the time. That's the greatest boat in the world. Obviously, last year, every one of our bites, I'd say 75% of our bites came on the left short and tight, which is great, and you don't want to ruin that. And it could be anything. You could have a loose zinc down there rattling. You could have bad electric currency going out the boat. You could have a bent shaft. There's good vibrations and bad vibrations. And there's just some boats that all the bites come way, way back on the long rear. You know, I got a friend that got the sonar, you know, and we can chase fish down. We see the fish. And so we know if there's fish around, they might not be eaten, but he was chasing them down and they were leaving them, like running away. And he did that for 4 days, and then he knew something was up, and then they found out they had a bad electronic issue or something, and it was putting stray currents in the water. So, you know, you're scaring fish away. They don't want to be electrocuted either.
Right.
So, you know, I mean, that's what's nice about sonar and electronics. You know, you can chase fish if they're running from you. You know something's wrong with the boat.
I was going to
Go
say,
overboard and look back.
it's almost like when you get in a pot of tarpon and you still got your depth sounder on. You just watch them move. You just watch them move away from the boat because they don't like that pinging of the sonar.
Yep.
You know, they don't like that transducer noise, and so they'll actually move away from you.
That's exactly right. You know, and now with sonar, you know, I know guys that go a whole tournament season and not see something, couldn't figure it out. And back then you didn't know if you didn't zig or you zagged or, you know, it just wasn't your turn. But now with sonar, you know, you're seeing these fish 1,500 feet away, you know, and you're like, there he is. Well, he's going away from me. I can't, you know, they're avoiding me. So why? You know, now you start digging in the issues of why you're not seeing fish. And tuna are extremely, for the guys that fish out of Canaveral, you know, I can't tell you how many people tuna, for example, you know, on the big boats. There are certain RPMs, you get up close and the birds lift off the water right away. They be feeding, you get close and they take off. And then all of a sudden you find another bird pack their feet and you get close and birds take off. Well, you got something going on, or change your RPMs or change something.
Yeah.
You know, there's something speaking those tunas, you know, and I see that quite a bit. So when you get tuna bites on a big boat, the odds are your boat's in excellent shape. You're good to go. Tuna are super finicky.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, you know, that a lot of people just don't think about harmonics, and so you talk with some guys, and you know, tuna fishing out of Canaveral as an example, you're running 70, 80, 90 miles, and you're pulling up on bird packs, and some guys are consistently putting fish in the boat, and other guys are consistently burning a whole bunch of fuel and not coming back with hardly any fish. And like you say, it could be RPMs, it could be the harmonics off of your props, it could be the exhaust, you know, the notes at that particular RPM, or it could be some kind of a stray electrical current, like you say.
It could be all the above. And then also what people don't realize on tunas, you know, is how they feed, shadow of the boat, loud noises in the cockpit jumping around, radio booming, you know, those things all amplified under the water. Slamming cooler lids, getting bait out. That's all amplified in the water when you're fishing. You know, when you're pulling up on tuna, you got to be quiet and you got to look at which way they're moving. You never want to approach tunas. You always want tunas to approach you. So you need to be in front of them.
Yes.
You got to figure out which direction. If you're trying to catch up on them, you're pushing those fish away. You know, they're not used to bait chasing them down. You know, they're used to coming up on the bait. So guys that know what they're doing, they know which direction those tuners are going, and they can stay in front of those tunas and keep getting bit. Whereas most guys run through a tuna pack and go right through the middle, catch one, and then the fish scatter, and then you didn't pick them off. You know, so and that goes with everything. Same with.
Yeah, I tell you, one of the guys who was really good at it back in the day was Steve Seaman, and unfortunately he's passed away. But you know, Steve was kind of a goofy guy. We all like to pick at Steve, you know, once in a while. He was a fun guy to mess around with. But
I waited for Steve for many years.
but he knew tuna fishing, and he was, you know, back when Eddie was running the
ticket.
Before the ticket, was a Predator or whatever.
The White Rabbit. The Predator and the White Rabbit is what Eddie used to run.
Yeah, when he
White
was
Rabbit, I think, was the very first one.
Yeah, when he was running that Predator boat and then switched over to the ticket. I mean, that was, you know, that's 35 years ago. But
yeah.
You know,
we were, believe it or not, we were one of the first. Butch McCoy, I think, was on that trip. He listens all the time. It was on the Native Son. The Jester and the Joker, and we all did the buoy and racked it up together and did all that. And then Steve and I were the first ones that we know of that went out to that 180-mile buoy. There's a buoy that used to be at 180 miles. And we got caught in a bad storm and had to end up going into Walker's Cay. Anyways, I caught a giant blue marlin that trip, one of my biggest blue marlins out of Canaveral. You know, like 700-pound blue marlin.
Wow.
And we had a good tuna trip, but so.
But yeah, I just in jumping on board with Steve for that one summer and running some trips with him, that it really increased my knowledge about how you have to let the fish approach you. You cannot run those fish down. And that boat wasn't a very fast boat, as you remember. 15 knots was about all she had. Maybe 17 and a half at the pins. What's that?
We didn't have the fuel back then, so you couldn't run and gun bird pack. You just fished with your binoculars and looked.
Yeah.
And waited,
But whenever we got in front of some fish, we normally had 3, 4, sometimes 5 lines go down, and that's a whole lot better. You got 5 lines that are all talking to you. That's a whole lot better than burning through the middle of a pack of tuna and only getting one knocked down.
Exactly. And then I learned a valuable lesson when I was living in Hawaii. One of the guys I used to fish with, we were in this giant tuna pack, and we couldn't catch anymore just because we didn't have enough ice, so we were like, and they're feeding good. And he goes, I want you to jump in the water and pay attention. And he dragged me behind the boat, and all those fish, they're all going the same direction. And then a couple will break off and feed, and that's where the birds pop up. But the big schools, half a mile, 3/4 of a mile in front of those birds.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
they were that far in front, huh?
Yeah, they're pushing up, especially here in the Azores on these big schools, these big giant tunas. They're driving those fish up, and they're driving them, and then the school keeps going on, and then some of the remaining tunas will sit there. Those are the ones you're seeing on the surface, unless it's a big bait ball. But they'll push up a few, bop, 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 and the rest of the school's way ahead of them, driving up more.
Interesting. But you don't know that without those the sophisticated sonar that you guys have. Basically, you guys have the original forward-facing sonar. In the big boats. When you're spending $50,000 on a transducer and you've got $120,000 electronics package in the boat, you can definitely reach out and see some stuff. But it's interesting to me that you guys would get behind fish and just scan that fish off your bow at 400, 500, 600 yards and just stay behind him until like it's lines in tournament time, and then you just run up around the fish, shut down, put the baits in, not shut down completely, but what I'm saying, run around the fish, get lines out, and get a hookup within 5 minutes of getting in front of the fish.
Yep. Well, for example, the World Cup Blue Marlin was yesterday, July 4th. It's held around the world. It's the only tournament held around the world in your respectable time zone. Starts off with Africa, and then used to end with Hawaii, but now French Polynesia is fishing quite a bit. There's a boat catch. One of my friends in Cape Verde had one come up dead. He kind of knew it was going to be close. It didn't make its minimum of 500 pounds. And then another one in Panama was killed. That was I think 489. It did make it. And then the Hines family out of Bermuda, good friends of mine, they killed a 550 something. Don't quote me on the exact numbers. And then in the Gulf of America, what was the name? Rising Sun, with a 23-year-old, I think her name is Joycelyn or something. She fought that fish for 8 hours. They had on the leader several times. They ended up taking the fish. And then French Polynesia catches a fish and takes it, and they end up winning it with it was a 689, a 606, and a 557, and they were all within 1 inch of length of each other.
Really?
The girth was a different size, like 62, 63, and 64 on girth.
Wow. But what was the weights on it?
I think 689 won the World Cup in French Polynesia.
So 689. So almost a 700-pound fish, but it was only 1 inch or 2 inches thicker than one of the other fish that they landed.
Yeah, it's like 116 with 2 more inches of girth, and then the 606 and the Gulf America was 115 with a 63 or 64 inch girth, and then the one in Bermuda was 115 with a 62 or 63 inch girth.
Wow! So just a matter of inches can be a matter of literally 100 pounds.
That's what we always say. An inch of girth on a fish when they get up this size equals 100 pounds.
That's amazing. Absolutely
and
amazing.
And a meal, depending on what they eat.
Yeah, and you like you say, if they've got a 30 or 50 pound yellowfin tuna in them, or a handful of 20-pound dolphin, I mean, obviously that adds to the overall weight.
Yeah. And the thing is, the Gulf of America, those guys, they do the sonar and they run around those oil rigs and they're watching those fish. They won't bait a fish. They live bait there. They usually will chase a fish around until they know it's the right one or until it comes up and ready to feed, and then they'll put the live baits out. But the problem with them is to get the bite on live bait, they have to use really light leader. That's why they fought that fish for so long. They couldn't, they had it on the leader several times and just, you're getting away with a 300-pound leader, you're going to break them pretty quick if you pull on them.
Yeah, you can't put the amount of pressure on a fish that, when you're only using 300 or even 400, compared to 5 or 6.
I break 400 all the time. I mean, I fish 550 or 600 over here. I can break 400 pretty quick, if I want to. So, not saying I'm that strong, but you just got to realize that marlin chafes through that leader with his bill like sandpaper. So
yeah,
he started at 400, and by the time you grab the leader, it might be 200-pound leader or something.
He might have nicked it a couple of times. It's just like tarpon, snook, anything else.
Yep, same thing. Exact same thing. They just shape it down.
Yep. Well, buddy, I appreciate the talk this morning. It's kind of interesting that, just a matter of inches can be, 50, 80, 100 pounds difference in the overall weight on a fish once they get up to that, 115, 116 inch range.
Matter of inches just equal to 100 like 1,400,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
I think I don't know, there's 2 categories. There's the Big Blue Challenge and it rolls over. I didn't look at the payout, but it's probably around 1.4 if he's in the Big Blue Challenge.
Not bad. Not a bad payday, that's for sure. Well, we'll let you get back to trying to get that boat fixed, and thank you so much for the call this morning. Can we check back in with you in a couple of weeks?
Absolutely. I'll be traveling, and hopefully we start our fishing season here in 2 weeks over in the Azores. I think we're going to bypass Madeira this year, and then boss can't get over here. And, I got to stop in Madeira, and then we're going to go straight to the Azores and get ready for the boss to come in.
Sounds good, buddy. Well, you take care, and look forward to seeing you when you do get back home, but we'll give you a shot back again in a couple of weeks and see what exactly in the world Kyle has been doing.
Hopefully catching fish. Good talking to you guys.
Thanks so much, Kyle. Appreciate it.
Have a good one.
All righty, bye-bye now. Hey, gang, that was Captain Kyle Weaver, born and raised right here in Brevard County. Now he's off fishing all over the world, so that's a pretty cool job to have, that's for sure. We're going to take another break. Hey, guys and gals, welcome back. We appreciate you tuning in every Saturday right here to Catch a Memory Outdoors. This segment of the show is brought to you by Direct Graphics, and if you haven't checked out Direct Graphics, you need any kind of boat wrap, truck wrap, any kind of promotional product, give those guys over at Direct Graphics a call right there in Cocoa, 321-631-1001. That's how you get a hold of them. Also, Carroll Distributing is back with their American Beers for American Heroes promotion, and so your local Bud and Bud Light distributor, Carroll Distributing, is added again this year. For the past 15 years, they have been partnered with Folds of Honor, and this year Carroll Distributing will be donating an additional $1 of every case that they sell of these 2 iconic brands, the American Beers for American Heroes promotion. So that's pretty cool. So every Bud and Bud Light case that you guys buy, $1 from each of those purchases is going to Folds of Honor to help people that have been in our military and first responders. So far to date, they have over $33 million has been given to those who have lost loved ones in our armed forces, our police, or our firefighting communities. And they've also done some scholarship opportunities. Now through September 1st, you can buy a case and help any family in need. So what are you waiting for? Get out there and pick up a case or 2 today. We're going to go to the phone lines. Got Captain Mike on the line this morning. What's going on in Volusia County this morning, Mike?
Hey, good morning, Jimmy. How you doing today?
Doing pretty good, man. Just got off the phone with Captain Kyle Weaver, and of course, Kyle's over in the Canary Islands right now, and getting ready to go chase some of those big fish around again that they do seem to be doing every year. So that's kind of cool.
Oh, that's a nice thing. Well, we've had, this has been an interesting week in the lagoon. The water temperatures dropped quite a bit in the lagoon, as well as on the beach again. You know, I think last week we were talking about, hey, the water's 84 degrees on our beach. Yeah, that didn't last long. Dropped down to 71 on the beaches, and we got 81 degrees on Monday in the lagoon, and it's back up to about 84.
Okay.
Okay. So, you know, it's not a bad thing in the lagoon. It's not a great thing on the beaches. That's some pretty chilly weather, especially a week before Snapper Week. Hopefully, or Snapper Weekend. Hopefully, we get some warmer water moving back in. But you know, the fish have been tailing really well, and they've been almost like on a spring bite with this cooler water in the lagoon. Did really well on topwaters this week.
Really? That's encouraging.
Really. Now, the challenge is finding some water that doesn't have so much floating grass, or you just deal with trying to sling the stuff off. But, yeah, we've caught some nice reds and trout and snook all on top water with the overcast skies we've had all week and the cooler water temperature. And it seems like the schools of mullet have really arrived in the lagoon system.
So how is your water height? Is it back up where, you know, you can get around into some of those little back areas you haven't been able to, or is it still low?
It's starting to come up. You know, we've had high tides in the morning, and it's been a little bit higher. You know, before our high tide looked like what our low tides were, and now high tide's actually looking like something. Yeah, I would say this week with all the rain forecasts, that's definitely going to help some, but it's a lot easier getting around right now, for sure.
Yeah, well,
and
you know,
all
of that global warming and sea level rise is creating all of that high water that we've experienced for the past 3 months.
You know that.
As you bump bottom as you're trying to pole across your favorite flat, right?
Well, you know, that's the greatest fallacy with the global warming threat that they're saying is, what did we all learn in elementary school? What has more volume, ice or water?
Ice, obviously.
There you go. So we would be, you know, we're not going to drown from global warming, that's for sure.
Well, I tease my good friend Mitch Roffer all the time about this. Mitch lives on he lives on South Melbourne Beach area, you know, so he's beachfront, you know.
Oh, nice.
And he's beachfront. I mean, he is right there. You walk out his back door and there's the surf, you know. And I kid him once in a while saying, you know, about the sea level rise because of the climate change and the global warming and this and that, and pretty soon he's going to have to sell his house and because it's going to be underwater, you know. So I tease him. I say, well, you know, I'm living in Rockledge and I'm like 27 feet above sea level, so I'm waiting for my oceanfront properties, so my property value kicks in a little higher. But you know, it's one of those things I like to joke with him about it. But you're right. You know, when you think about it, ice has more volume than water has. That's a simple fact. And so we keep talking about the water's going to rise, but it seems to me like it's getting lower every year rather than higher every year.
Well, yeah, and not to sound like, but if all the polar ice caps melted, we would actually have less water. Beachfront would be more. The Bahamas would be almost dry.
Yeah.
So anyway, but you know. I'm no scientist. I'm just a poor, dumb fisherman, and I love to go catch fish. And I am hoping we're kind of starting to get out of this cold water pattern that we've had on the beach. It's been it's been lasting a little while, and I'm over it.
Well,
I want to go to the beach, and I want to get in the water and feel good. I want to get out there and see my tarpon rolling and having a good time and be consistent.
So I went out yesterday, Mike's first day that I'd been out this week out on the beach. And no, it wasn't. It was the second day I was out on this week on the beach. And the thing that I noticed was, you know, we came out of the port and it was 77 degrees inside the port. Started going south, you know, running down the beach looking for bait, and it got all the way down to 73 by the time I got to the pier. And not much in the way of bait to the south, and then ran up to the north, and of course there's bait up to the north in the only 78 degree water area. And guess where the tarpon were? Right in there.
Right there.
Yep. So, and then I ran a little farther north, just to see what was going on, you know, farther up towards the Falls Cape, and the water temperature started dropping back down, 74, 75 degrees again. So that little warm pocket that was basically in the bight and just around the tip of the Cape, maybe the first half a mile past the tip of the Cape. That's where all the tarpon were yesterday.
Yeah, so Friday I had tarpon all over the beach, Friday a week ago. Sunday, I called the radio show Saturday, all excited about it. Sunday I do my trip. I get outside the inlet, and as soon as I start heading south, it was 70, it was probably 81, 82 coming out of the inlet. As soon as I headed south, it dropped down to 74. 74 wasn't bad. I found bait in that, and I loaded up on some bait, and I'm like, well, let's see if we can find that 76. 74 tarpon will hold in, and they'll eat in 74-plus degree water. Below that, they tend to skedaddle.
Yeah.
So I start running, and I'm looking for like 76. The further south I went, and I think I spoke to you today. I got almost all the way to the False Cape.
Yeah.
And it was getting colder the further south I was going, so I ended up turning around, coming back the 20-something miles I ran to the bait pod I originally caught bait in, and I'm like, let's just watch this for a minute. Lo and behold, there's tarpon in it.
Yep.
That weren't in it when I left that morning an hour and a half earlier, 2 hours earlier.
They showed up while you were gone, though.
Yeah, and they were big boys. We ended up getting about a 125-pounder and kept it on for, probably 30, 40 minutes. And then it finally just chafed through. I was using 30-pound fluorocarbon because the water was fairly clear. And he just finally chafed through. But, we got a few liters. The leader almost got to the tip of the rod. But then that's about the only tarpon I have seen all week. In the river, they disappeared. And then I started finding them again on Thursday.
Well, it's interesting, Mike, because with that cold water on the beach, you would think that more fish would push inside. I know they did down here in the central part of the Banana River and the Indian River, both. There are schools of, 40 to 80, even 100-pound class tarpon that have showed up in the past, 10 to 12, 14 days that weren't there prior to that. So it has pushed quite a few fish in down here. I'm surprised it hasn't done the same up there.
What I figured out is they're in there. I had them rolling a little bit on Thursday, but they're not rolling. They're sitting on the bottom. And I talked to another captain who did pretty well, and he was dropping chunks on the bottom and was catching them.
Okay.
And, which is great, but there's also a ton of bull sharks around too. Yeah. We had a few bull sharks on. And I just, it's good to get the hook up with a chunk on the bottom, but I don't like that because in the current, it's hard to get one to the boat with enough weight to get it on the bottom, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The tarpon start jumping and that 2-ounce weight starts bouncing around, slinging around, and it gets a little challenge. But that was what I found was that they were down deep and they were just, because, Friday a week ago, they were rolling everywhere in the river. I mean, everywhere. And there were some big ones in there. And it was okay on Saturday. It was okay on Sunday. And then it just they disappeared all week. And I don't know if it was the barometer. I'm guessing we just had a funky barometer because we've had funky weather this whole week.
Weather's been off.
70 degrees in the morning driving to the ramp in, last week of June. So it's been a little non-typical Florida weather.
That's for sure. Well, buddy, I appreciate you calling in this morning. Give us the update. Do you have any time available where somebody could get out with you?
I do. I've got a few days scattered throughout the month of July. You can give me a call at 386-295-5991. You can go right to our website, fatfishguide.com. You can follow me on Instagram, CAPT Mike Mann with 2 N's, and on Facebook, Mike Mann as well.
Awesome.
And guys, I will not be calling in next Saturday because I'll probably be out of cell range.
Oh, you're going on a little trip, huh?
Well, it's snapper season, snapper day.
Have fun with that.
Yeah, I'm not in my boat. I go to a friend's house. I drive to park, walk down on his dock with my little 6-pack of beer and my rod, get on the boat and I go fishing. I don't drive. I do help clean fish. I will not be a captain that Saturday. I will be a passenger.
You're going to be an active participant that's not involved with driving or unhooking fish, huh?
That's correct. I think I'm going to do it Friday and Saturday with them because, we don't get a chance to be fishermen that often. We get even if we have a day off and we go fishing, we're still working. Being able to go out with somebody, let them deal with the bait and everything else, it's nice. It's real nice.
Well, I told my guy that had me booked for next Friday, I said, just to let you know, you've got 3 options. 1, you can change your offshore trip or your near coastal trip to a flats trip. 2, you can pick another day and do a near shore trip. Or 3, I can refund your deposit because I am not dealing with the boat ramp at Port Canaveral on Friday the 11th. That ain't happening. That is, nope. I am not that mad at the fish that have to deal with that bunch of fiasco going on out there. So, but for those people that do want to go get in it, good luck and enjoy. And bring a 5-gallon bucket full of patience. And you might need to bring 2 5-gallon buckets full of patience. Because the last time I actually fished on Red Snapper Day, I had one guy that almost hit my boat twice because he didn't know how to anchor. And because he didn't know how to anchor, he pushed me off of the spot that I was anchored on. And it's just like, there's a whole ocean out there. It's, you don't have to part. You don't have to. I would have preferred the guy pull up next to me and just tie it off to my gunnel rather than drag an anchor around where he was dragging the anchor around, because he had, we're in 80 feet of water and he's trying to put 100 feet of line out like it's going to hold him. Yeah.
Probably with no chain.
Yeah. Yeah, not much. And it wasn't much of an anchor. It looked like something you'd put on a 17-foot skiff, not a 27-foot center console. So anyway, I don't deal with stupidity very well, so I'm just going to take a hiatus from being on the water out in the ocean next Friday. So, but you enjoy, buddy. I appreciate the call this morning, and we will talk to you soon.
We're going to get out of the range of a lot of the idiots. So we're going deep. So guys, have a great weekend. Happy 4th of July, a day late, and I hope everybody has a safe, happy weekend.
All right, buddy. You take care. Well, gang, we're going to take our next break. When we come back, we got a whole lot more Catch a Memory, so don't go away. We're going to be right back after these messages. We appreciate you tuning in every Saturday right here to Catch a Memory Outdoors. American Beers for American Heroes, Carroll Distributing, with each case of Bud and Bud Light sold, will donate $1 per case in honor of the last 15 years of partnership with Folds of Honor. Like I said, 15 years, Anheuser-Busch and Carroll Distributing have raised over $33 million to support scholarships for the families of fallen veterans and first responders through Folds of Honor. Show your support for those who have given their all on the front lines to make this country great. Get out there and buy some Bud or Bud Light today. This program that Carroll Distributing has put on, I just want to talk about it for a minute. It's in conjunction, obviously, with Folds of Honor, but companies don't have to do this. If you're, we have a lot of friends that are first responders down here at Port Canaveral. The entire, the fired up fleet, if you will. Chris Cameron is a fireman and a police officer. I've got good friends that work in the sheriff's department here in Brevard County Sheriff's Department. I've got good friends that are Rockledge Police Department officers, Cocoa Police Department officers, and just anybody who's a first responder. We've got friends of the show. Mike and John Kipp, as an example, are both firefighters. These guys are first responders, dealing with problems that we don't want to have to deal with every single day. And so for a company like Carroll Distributing to get out there and take $1 out of every one of their, sales, I think that that's a huge thing for a company to be able to do. So, obviously, if you like to drink beer and you enjoy helping first responders, this promotion is huge. So it's one of the things that I would definitely say that you need to get behind by buying either some Bud or Bud Light if you're here in the Brevard County area. And that will obviously go a long way to helping people that do need help. And it's just a great thing. And so I appreciate Carroll Distributing jumping on board again this year and helping to promote this particular Folds of Honor promotion that they're doing. through my radio program because, I know and I see the impact. Guys like Daniel Hart, is another example of, there's a guy who's been a first responder his whole life. The guy that I started my captaining career underneath, Captain Billy Bright, the firefighter his entire life. So there's a lot of people in our community that these types of programs impact. So if you get the opportunity between now and Labor Day to buy a case of Bud or Bud Light, please do, and help those guys and gals out there that are on the front lines every single day. Appreciate that. Hey guys, you know what? We're going to do the catch conditions real quick and see what the weather looks like for today. Fishing and boating conditions from Ponce Inlet to Sebastian Inlet today. We've got southwest winds right around 5 to 10 knots. It's going to switch to the south for a little bit this afternoon, and then it's going to come back kind of a southwest-ish again by tonight. I don't think there's going to be any huge winds, but just a slow, steady, overcast, rainy, maybe a couple of thunderstorm kind of a day. So just be aware of that. Seas inside of 20 miles are supposed to be 1 to 3 feet with a dominant period of around 4 seconds. Right now, the Ponce buoy at 13 miles northeast of Ponce Inlet. Water temperature up there is showing 80 degrees. Seas are a little tight, 3 feet at 5 seconds. The current conditions at the 4-mile weather buoy in Port Canaveral, 75-degree water temperature, so it has warmed up just a touch from what it was yesterday. Seas are 1 foot at 8 seconds. And then the 20-mile weather buoy out of Port Canaveral, 81 degrees and 2 feet at 4 seconds. So it's a little tighter out there. 6-mile buoy out of Fort Pierce, 77 degrees and 1 foot at 8 seconds. I was talking with Glenn Austin yesterday, actually, to see if he'd been out on the water. And it's funny, me and Blair and Jeff Kranick just got back from, and our family just got back from Alaska. Guess where Glenn was? just getting back from a cruise in Alaska. So that was kind of interesting. I didn't realize he was going up there. And we also saw, when we were up there, we saw Paul Berube from Boaters Exchange. We saw Bill Pasternak from Ace Hardware in Titusville. Both of those guys are sponsors of this show. So kind of interesting that a lot of people seem to go to Alaska, even though this was our first trip for Blair and myself. It was an incredible trip, and Jeff didn't oversell it, if you know what I mean. He kept telling us, he's like, you're just not going to believe how cool a place that it is when the conditions are right, obviously, and we got some great conditions, and it was a really, really cool event. So, but long story short, it was kind of interesting seeing all of those various people up in Alaska that you normally just see right here in Brevard County. Anyway, going back to the Sebastian conditions, water temperature down there on the beach is about 74 degrees. So just offshore, it's a little bit warmer at 77 at that 6-mile buoy out of Fort Pierce. Western edge of the Gulf Stream, 46 nautical miles out of Ponce today. So that is really an oddity. Normally it's at 38 to about 42. So for some reason, it has pushed way out off of Ponce Inlet. It's 32 off of Port Canaveral, and it's 24 off of Sebastian Inlet. The current surf temps look like this. We got Ponce Inlet surf temp is 78 degrees. Port Canaveral, Cocoa Beach, 75 to 76. And Sebastian Inlet is 78 degrees. And the tides at the port, we've got a low tide this morning at 10:11 a.m. and a high this afternoon at 4:55 p.m. Now, real quick, guys and gals, if you are going out this morning, the last of the outgoing tide, the tarpon, redfish, and snook all bit better on the last of the outgoing tide than they did on the incoming tide. So if you're not out there, or if you're on your way to get there, get out there and get to fishing. Just run up and down the beach and find some mullet pods and fish underneath where you see the mullet. That's where those fish are holding right now. High tide this afternoon is 4:55 p.m. And then Sebastian, the bridge tide at Sebastian, 10:40 a.m. this morning for the low and 4:53 p.m. for the high. Now remember that current changes about 2 3/4 to 3 hours after the actual beach tide. So adjust down there accordingly for that. And then the solar lunar tables, which are the best times to fish and hunt, presented by Tino and the gang down at All About Archery. This morning, right now, basically about 10 minutes or so, 8:07 a.m. to 10:07 a.m. is the major. And that coincides, if you notice, with that outgoing tide, that low tide being at Canaveral at 10:11 a.m. and the major going from 8:07 to 10:07 a.m. That's a good, that lines up perfectly. So if you get a chance to get out there and fish, definitely do that. This evening, 8:20 p.m. to 10:20 p.m. is, again, that's your next major. And then the minor for the mid to late afternoon period is 3:37 p.m. to 4:37 p.m. But like I said, if you get a chance to get out within the next 2 hours, you should have a pretty good bite going on this morning. If anybody's out there on the water listening from, maybe watching on the Facebook feed or listening on the WWBC app, if you are on the water and getting some good bites going on right now, give us a call. I'd love to hear from you. I know that there's quite a few guys that are going to be out there this morning, and hopefully we'll hear from some of them. Anyway, we got a whole nother hour of Catch a Memory coming right back at you after these messages. Hey, gang, this hour of Catch a Memory Outdoors is presented by Bud and Bud Light from Carroll Distributing. They're a family-owned and operated distributor, eagerly serving Brevard County beer drinkers since 1960. We also want to let you know this segment of the show is brought to you by Engel Coolers. And, I was talking about my Engel, that new Ultralight 60 that I've got. And if you guys and gals are looking for a really, really great, I'm not talking about good, I'm talking about a great cooler, you really need to check out this new UL 60. I'm sure they're going to expand the line and, create some other sizes. But that 60 size is just a fantastic size. It does a lot of things well. You can use it as a front casting platform on a flat skiff. You can use it as a dry storage area, as well as a cooler on your boat if you want to keep some stuff in dry storage. It's a great cooler to throw in the bed of the truck and just keep back there. And even going on tailgating picnics on the weekends, just swinging down to the local pond or riverbank and doing a little fishing. It's just a great little cooler to have. So check out that UL 60 from Engel. You're really going to be impressed. Hey, we're going to go to the phone lines. Got Rodney Sayre on the line this morning. Good morning, buddy.
Good morning, man. So, I don't know about you, man, but I'm looking outside and it looks kind of dreary out here.
It is, yeah. It's kind of dreary over here too. It's not raining right now. I'm looking at the shot of the parking lot, the camera at the parking lot outside. But yeah, I can see it's still overcast and not looking all that fantastic. That's for sure.
Well, it stinks, man. The boat's hooked up in the driveway, ready to go, and back and forth looking at that weather. It's like, not sure, and it's got that, with the bay boat, and it's got that chop going, and you add a storm on top of that. I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to stay home today. So
probably not a bad idea.
Yeah.
As much as you want to get out, probably not a bad. I'm just pulling up my my little weather thing here on WeatherBug. I just kind of wanted to see what was going on. The winds are actually kind of light right now, so that's not too bad. But I wanted to pull up the radar and just see what the radar's got going on. Yeah, I see stuff over. Yeah, there's kind of stuff all around. It's not huge. It's not a huge amount of coverage, but there's enough coverage that.
That's what you want to see on your fish finder, not on your radar.
Yeah,
kind of situation, right?
Yeah, it doesn't look all that great. That's for sure. Well, you got a chance to get out here, once or twice over the past week. What did you find out there?
Yeah, well, I was lucky enough to be a part of one of the snapper, basically one of these special permits that they put out, not the 3 fish, but the 36 fish, that they pick a few people. They actually handpick them. Because they need specific things, that they need for it. I was lucky to be a part of that about a week and a half ago, and the fishing was good when you found them. We were just talking about it before we got on the air here. This water's been funky, and when you can't find a spot without a snapper, this was, we fished, and then we finally got out the 220, and there they were. Nothing was either home or nothing that, it marked up, but nothing really wanted to eat until you got out to that 220 area. So definitely something going on with the water, as you and I were kind of discussing, and, we're seeing it across the board. I don't know if Mike Mann's called in, but he texted me last night the water was 71, 72 degrees up there. Then you told me it was 73 down by the pier.
Yeah.
So definitely some thermocline scenario funkiness going on in the area.
But the other thing I notice is when I'm running up and down the beach, like if you look behind your boat, there's just this muddy prop wash thing going on.
Turning
And
it up a little bit.
it's just, you're in 15, 20, 30 feet of water, and there's this like mud line behind where your prop just went through the water. And I don't understand, other than the beach renourishment thing that's been going on. I don't understand why there's that much sediment up in the water column. The water should be clean. It should be, it's been calm. We haven't had any rough conditions. It's been less than 3 feet for 2 weeks now. And I just don't understand what is continuing to churn the sediment and keep it suspended in the water. Unless it's just that beach renourishment sand kind of filtering itself out. Because you have to remember, at Canaveral, and the entire length from Cape Canaveral all the way down to the south end of Cocoa Beach, where they just got done doing that sand, transfer from the north side of the inlet back, pumping it back to the south side of the inlet through the pipes and stuff. You're still pumping dirt that they put on the beach that they trucked in last time they did this. They brought dirt from Cocoa. They didn't put sand on top of the sand at the beach. They brought dirt, and they brought truckloads and truckloads and truckloads and hundreds of truckloads of dirt and put it on the beach where the sand is supposed to be. And I think that, as that stuff kind of washes into the ocean, and obviously the prevailing current goes from south to north, it's just washed it all up into the bight, all up around the tip of the Cape.
Yeah.
And the water just doesn't seem to be as clean as it should be, given the conditions that we have. And honestly, I don't know what's going to take to change that, but it's going to have to be a major jostling of the sediment. And the only thing I can figure is we need a good hurricane or two.
Yeah,
which obviously defeats the purpose. It defeats the purpose of putting, renourishment particulate back on the beach, because it washes it away. But at this point, we've created a mud hole. That's what we've got. We've stomped. There's that wet spot in the yard. When you're a kid, there's that little wet spot in the yard, and you get out there and you stomp in it, and pretty soon you get your little mud hole going, and then you get your big wheel or your tricycle or your bicycle, and then you start riding through it, and pretty soon you got yourself a pretty good little mud spot in the yard. And then Dad gets home and he gets angry at you because you just made a wreck of the front yard. But long story short is we've created this muddy spot by doing what we've done with this beach renourishment. And I don't necessarily think that it's all has to do with what we did this year. Obviously, if you're trying to pump sand from the north side of the port back down to the south side, that's a good thing, because that whole area was shoaled in. But I think that the residual from the year prior is we've still got dirt that's in there, and it just I don't know, it just really messes the fishing up. The fishing should be way better than what it is right now. And not that we're not catching fish, because we're catching fish, but it's not nearly what it could or should be. And that's what I'm looking at.
So I agree with you there. It's funny because I've been fishing up at Ponce a little bit more, and I went out of Ponce when it wasn't cold water, and just the life was just like, oh my gosh, lots of pogies, bonita schools, just massive schools of bonitas just outside the inlet. I mean, all kinds of life. And I'm like, hey, I remember what this used to be, the buoy line of Canaveral. So hopefully we see some changes. Maybe they slow down a little bit with this, or we'll see what happens. But I agree with you, Jim. It's been continuously kind of getting to the point where it's like, you got to run a little bit farther to get to better fishing, and it's like kind of frustrating. So
yeah, like you say, there's indicators. Glass minnows are an indicator. Lack of glass minnows are an indicator. Pilchards. How many times 15, 20 years ago would you be out trolling around in front of the pier, in front of Stonewood and Xanadu, even down off of Patrick Air Force Base in 40 feet of water, and you would have greenie pods, pilchard pods, and in some cases sardine pods up dimpling on the surface, and you're circling around those things and get an occasional sailfish, not just a king mackerel, but get an occasional sailfish in 40 feet of water or an occasional dolphin. I can't tell you how many times I've in the past, I and many other captains have been fishing between the end of the buoy line, the tip of the let's say you made a triangle between buoy 2, the end of the buoy line, and then kind of made that triangle go south a little bit down towards 520, trolling in that particular section of the ocean, which is still very, very near shore-ish type water, but slow trolling a live pilchard or a live pogie and coming up with dolphin in there. Mahi dolphin. So
I remember when the schools of sardines were thick around buoy 2. You for some reason you couldn't find pogies. You could usually run out to buoy 2 and sabiki up some sardines or even some thread fins, and I haven't seen any thread fins around any of the buoys in a while, personally.
Everything I've seen is out in 60, 70 feet of water. It's all way out off the beach. I haven't seen any of those filter feeders, glass minnows, pilchards, sardines. I haven't seen any of those filter feeders, with the exception of the menhaden, inside of that basically 45 or 50-foot zone. You just don't see them because that water is not to their liking. Let's just put it that way. It's not to their liking.
Exactly.
Well, buddy, we're going to take our next break. Hopefully you get a chance to get out this weekend, and if not, you stay safe and tell the family we said hey.
It. And hey, if any of the listeners are lucky enough to get out of ICAST, Tuesday I will be working Daiwa on the water, so come by and say hello.
Awesome.
So look forward to it. And Jim, you guys have a good day, and we'll talk to you later.
All right, buddy, you take care. All right. Hey, gang, we're going to take our next break. Hey, gang, welcome back to Catch Your Memory Outdoors. This hour of the show is presented to you by Bud and Bud Light from your friends at Carroll Distributing. And the segment sponsor is Patricia Insurance. And if you guys don't like paying for insurance or don't like paying too much for your insurance, give Patricia a call. Let them do a rate quote, 321-632-1000. That's 632-1200. That's 632-1200. That's how you get a hold of Patricia Insurance. And you can have them do a rate quote for you. We're going to the phone lines. Got Lisa Fitzgerald from CCA calling in this morning. Good morning, Lisa.
Well, good morning, Jim. I hope everybody had a great 4th of July.
I know I did. I got out on the water. We caught fish, and we got home before the storm, so it was a good day.
There you go. Well, we haven't had any fireworks in Star. No tagged redfish at this point captured this weekend, but normally we do have that happen. If you're not registered and fishing today, shame on you, because if you catch one of those CCA Florida Star Tag redfish, you are not eligible to win one of the Carolina Skiff, a Seaborn, a Spider, a Microdraft Skiff. There are so many amazing boats available in this tournament, but you got to be registered. We've had 4 anglers recapture one of our tagged fish all over the state of Florida, and unfortunately, they were not registered. So we got to get people registered and in the competition in order to win.
That's for sure. So, Lisa, we need to tell people that it doesn't just have to be a tagged redfish. Any freshwater,
you are exactly right,
or any freshwater or any saltwater fish is available.
No freshwater.
Oh, no.
No freshwater. Only saltwater.
Okay.
Only saltwater. And it is any fish that you catch. So catfish, ladyfish, jack, lizardfish, toadfish, any of the fish that you catch, you have the opportunity to enter them in the tournament. You can enter 3 inshore species a day and 3 offshore species a day. That's flounder, trout, mahi, dolphin, all the different species that people catch. And if it's bad weather, guess what? You can go fishing the next day or the next day. We have until Labor Day. There's still close to 50 days of fishing, and it's only $80 to enter the competition. I would tell you, please get yourself registered. You have so many wonderful opportunities to win prizes. We're just hoping that we get to the mark. We just need 500 more registered anglers to reach where we were last year, and we will have a great tournament.
Definitely, definitely. Well, and, with the kids that get involved with this, they can win some really cool stuff, when it comes to potential scholarships to go to a college or I guess a trade school of their
school, yeah,
of their liking. And you said some of the kids that have been in this tournament over the years are actually using that money right now as they go to college.
Oh, yeah. So it's ages 6 to 17. And when they graduate from school, they let us know what institution that they are going to. We set it up so that the college gets paid. And then we already have probably about 15 or 20 students who are already involved in the program, and several who have graduated and with degrees in marine biology working for FWC, and his main project is redfish and snook in Sarasota and Tampa Bay, and he's studying them and learning where they travel, what they do, how they spawn, where they spawn. So really it is an amazing opportunity for the youth to get involved in the program.
Most definitely. Well, Lisa, I know that you're out on the water this morning because I heard you just getting excited about some bait that was showering somewhere.
Yes. Well, we're in Cedar Key. We're having an amazing time. Yesterday there were 20 trout over 20 inches. I'm out here with Luke from Salt Strong. If you haven't checked out their app, the app really is helpful in finding great fishing locations, when to fish, what to use. And then I'm with Lo Morrison, the killer with the bow, and we're out here just catching fish today and having a great time.
Fantastic. Do you getting any topwater action?
We had a big red on a subsurface. We had a ginormous snook, 40-inch snook. So we're just working away towards our boat slam. We have a boat slam now, but yesterday our boat slam was huge, so we're hoping to break that record today.
Hopefully so. Well, I'll tell you what, a 40-inch snook, that's a heck of a snook right there.
Artificial. So, yes, sir. Well, you have a great morning. To get registered for the STAR competition, you can go to ccaflstar.com, but you can give us a call over the phone at 844-387-7827, and we'll get you registered right over the phone.
It's so easy to do, and it's so worthwhile doing it because you don't want to be that person that pulls in that redfish with that green tag on it and kick yourself going, man, I just lost my chance at a brand new boat for free.
Yes, it only costs you $80 to get that boat.
Well, exactly.
Yes, sir. Well,
it costs you $80 to be a member of CCA and to enter the tournament, and then because you did that, you get a free boat.
There you go.
Well, good luck on the water. Tell Lo I said hey, and we will talk with you soon.
All right. Thank you so much.
All righty. Bye-bye now.
Soon. Bye.
That's pretty cool. She gets a chance to go out and fish a lot. And Lisa, for those of you that don't know Lisa, that girl right there, she's like my wife. If there's a day that they can be on the water, they want to be on the water. Doing something, she's always wanting to be on the water, always wanting to go fishing or hunting or something. So really, really cool. It looks like we got another caller calling in here. Let's see who's on next. Okay. Good morning. Who have we got here?
Hey, this is Donald from Lutz.
Hey, Donald, what's up, buddy?
Hey, is this Captain Jim?
Yes, it is.
Wow, right to the main man himself. Man, following the Hall of Famer, Florida Hall of Famer.
Yeah, following Miss Lisa. She's I think not only I think she's in the Ladies Angling Hall of Fame, and I think in the overall Angling Hall of Fame as well for Florida.
She is. She's the only angler in the Hall of Fame, Florida Hall of Fame in sports. So, and for fishing.
Pretty darn cool.
That's it. So I'm here in Texas right now, near San Antonio. I flew down here to go get my grandson. Steve, my other grandson just came down. He's 5. But my other grandson, Henry, he's been registered in STAR every year, right? They usually come to me, but this year they couldn't. So I flew down here and flying back with him on Monday. Going to have him for 3 weeks.
Oh,
So,
fantastic.
yeah, so we've got some charters. I rented a pontoon boat, and we're going to do a bunch of fishing and enter a bunch of Fish and Star, and maybe he might be the one to catch that tagged redfish. You never know.
That would be cool.
Yep, last year he did, in the one day, he got 6 reds, like 9 trout, and a snook, all in one outing. So that was pretty exciting. So he got all those inshore fish and, conservation, but none of them were tagged, but still. So I'm excited to get him down to Florida.
Well, most definitely. Is I saw there's some flooding going on out that way. Is that near you?
Yeah, it's not too far from us, like a couple towns over from my daughter. So yeah, the Guadalupe River and down in Seguin. So yeah, it's pretty bad, and she hasn't had any major storms here at the house.
Well, that's good. That's good.
I figured I'd call in, say hi. I haven't talked to you in a while. So I've been out there in the kayak. I was out in Crystal River last week trying to find some tagged reds, but fortunately didn't get any, but still got a bunch of entries. Excuse me. So it's all good. So plus,
that area around Crystal River is real. There's so many little creeks and cuts and things that you can go fish around in. And I would say that, for a guy who's kayak fishing, that's the ideal way to do it, because there are so many rocks and oyster reefs over there. If you don't know where you're going, you're going to cause a lot of damage to your boat if you don't have an idea where you're going. Where with a kayak, you can bounce off of that stuff and it doesn't hurt it as much.
Yeah, that's a fact. And what I love about my kayak, I have a fish finder, a GPS Garmin thing on it, and the way Old Town did it, it's recessed the transducer. Mm-hmm. So if you hit something, it never hits the transducer.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, which is really cool. So Old Town really thought of that. So kudos to them for that, because a lot of transducers are like out in the open and stuff. So if it gets hit, you never know. But they did a nice job of that. But gonna go bring them down there and go catch a bunch of fish, go to the beach, and so it's gonna be a great 3 weeks with him. And then I'm flying back on the 26th.
Well, we look forward to hearing some of those adventures over the next couple of weeks. Yeah. So hopefully you can give us a call from the water.
Oh, yeah. On a Saturday, yeah. We could get out there. It depends. But he likes to sleep in sometimes. But he'll be 16 on July 12th, so he's a young teenager. So.
Well, thanks for the call this morning, Donald.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, you take care, Captain Jim, and stay safe in tight lines. And always great to talk with you.
All right, buddy. We'll talk with you soon.
Yep. Take care.
All righty. Bye-bye now. Hey, gang, we're going to take our next break. When we come back, we got a whole lot more Catch Your Memory, so don't go away. We're going to be right back after these messages. Hey, gang, this section of Catch Your Memory Outdoors is presented by Carroll Distributing. They're your local Bud and Bud Light distributor for the last 6 decades, proudly employing over 160 people right here in Brevard County. We also want to talk about the Starbright Cleaning Solutions segment. So I hadn't talked about this product in a while. I want to talk about it because it's their corrosion buster pen. And what's interesting, this thing is not, it's not like a lubricant or anything of that nature. What it is, it's a little pen that has like 20,000 little glass cleaning fibers, all at the pinpoint. And you just slowly push it up. And just as you use the glass, it breaks off in little micro, pieces or whatever, but you can get in real tight around the edges of like cleats. I use it a lot on my electrical connections. So anything that anywhere where I've got a connection where it's a spade clip, like to my fuse terminal, I can pull those off of there and I can clean those terminals real good with this little corrosion buster pen. And then also my drop cord. So my drop cord plugs into my charger for my battery chargers for my Abyss battery. So I've got a charger that charges a 36 volt and then also has two 12 volt leads coming off of it. And everywhere where on the 3-prong connector for the charger, a lot of times you'll get this corrosion or this little, because it's out in the weather all the time. It gets rained on. It's, various things. It's the dew, the moisture. So it's always getting this little buildup of crud on it. And these little corrosion buster pins work really, really good for that. And there's a bunch of other things that you can use it for as well. But the main things that I use it for is on my electrical connections. But you can use it for auto detailing, tool cleaning, obviously any kind of electronic equipment, your hunting gear, your fishing gear, your reels. Like if you get a little corrosion buildup on the outside of your reel or something, you can rub this thing on it and get it all cleaned off. So anyway, just a great little product from Starbright, and you can take it with you. You just throw it in any of your little compartments in the boat, or any of your tool pouch, or any of that kind of stuff. Just a great little thing. So check out the Starbright Corrosion Buster Pin. It's available all over the place. You can normally find them not only at marine supply stores, but you can find them at your big box stores, as far as like a hardware store, places like that as well. You could probably even find them at Walmart and places like that. But that little corrosion buster pin really does a great job of cleaning up things that aren't easy to clean because of those little fibers that are on it. So check that thing out. You're gonna like that. And also, who likes beer? Well, heck, right? Just about everybody. So why not do something with your next beer purchase that can help families of fallen veterans and first responders with Carroll Distributing's American Beer for American Heroes program through Folds of Honor. Carroll Distributing, with each case of Bud and Bud Light sold, will donate $1 per case to the Folds of Honor. And they've been doing that distribution of money for the last 15 years. It's sequentially gotten more each year. But this year they're going with a full $1 per case. So anyway, if you want to help out the guys and gals in this partnership with Folds of Honor, crack open a cold one and let those family members that have given the greatest sacrifice of all know that you care. We appreciate those guys over there at Carroll Distributing jumping on board and helping with this promotion. The other thing we need to talk about, we were talking about earlier with Mike Mann, Rodney Sayre. Everybody that's been along the beach is talking about this cold water upwelling. And it's weird because generally we don't get south or southwest winds until normally late in July or into the August time frame. And we've had some south and southwest winds now for a couple of weeks. And so we're getting these cold water upwellings along the beach. And one of the things that I notice when I'm offshore, and you guys and gals will probably notice it too, if you're dropping to the bottom and you're not catching fish, you need to double check your sounder. Like if you're sitting, let's just say you're pulled up on, let's just throw this out there. The FSFA reefs, right? The pyramids. I fish those pyramids quite a bit. Some guys like to fish them. Some guys don't like to fish them. I actually catch a lot of fish off of them for my customers. Whether I troll around them and catch king mackerel and dolphin, or if I drop down to the bottom and catch, snapper and cobia. There's always red snapper on them, so there's always something to pull on. There's typically sharks around them most of the time, so there's always something to pull on. But there's mangrove snapper, there's lane snapper, there's cobia, just a variety of species that you can find around them. And so you pull up over the top of it, and you look at the actual bottom structure to see where the bait is, where the fish are hanging over that structure. You're only in 75 feet of water, so it's not like you're real deep. But you will notice that if there's a thermocline, that a lot of the fish won't be down right at the bottom. They'll be hanging up in the mid part of the water column over the top of the actual piece of structure, or pretty close to it. And they'll mark the way that like spadefish will mark over the top of that structure, or sometimes American red snapper will mark over the top of those structures. And I just think that if you look at where the bait is in the water column and adjust your depth accordingly, you're going to catch a lot more fish. Like Mike was talking about earlier. Rodney was talking about earlier. A lot of their inshore stuff, they weren't finding fish that wanted to bite, and they had to go all the way out to 220 feet so that they could catch their red snapper for that permit, the special permit that they had to be able to keep the red snapper that's put out there by FWC. But I catch tons of red snapper in 60 to 75 feet of water. Tons of them. So you don't have to run to 200 feet of water to do that. You just need to pay attention to where the fish are in the water column. If they're holding mid-water and you're dropping to the bottom, you're obviously not in the strike zone. So one of the things I'll do is I'll start off, and I use a very, very simple rig. It's not elaborate in any means. I don't use a chicken rig. The only thing I ever use when I bottom fish is a knocker rig. And I put just enough weight to get my bait to start going down. And obviously with a knocker rig, you have to let the bait down slowly so that you don't get the weight too far away from the bait and then create a tangling type of a scenario. But generally an ounce, ounce and a half, 2 ounces, if there's a little bit more current, maybe 3 or 4 ounces I'll have to go up to. But red snapper are dumb. They're just dumb fish. And cobia are dumb fish. You don't have to get elaborate with your rig. So let's just say that I'm using a 4-aught triple strong or a 5-aught triple strong hook, like a VMC the 8386. I like that particular one a lot. Or I use my tarpon hook sometimes, the 7385s. The tarpon hooks will have a tendency to bend out if you get a really big fish and you're trying to put maximum heat on them. You can get those to bend. So the triple strong one is, in my opinion, that 8386 is a better option. And like I said, I like a 4-aught, 5-aught, 6-aught size. Live menhaden, live, typically I'm dropping live pogies down. And a 2-ounce, just a 2-ounce egg sinker, knocker rig. Put it right on the, it's almost like a jig head with a circle hook, basically, is what you're doing by putting that knocker rig down there. Let it down slowly. Most of the time, if there's a snapper or there's a cobia over the top of the structure, you'll only get that bait down about halfway in the water column. So it'll go down 35, 40 feet, and then you get bit. So there's 2 benefits to that. One is the fish isn't already down at the structure. And with the fish not being right next to the structure, that gives you a much better opportunity of keeping that fish from getting you into the structure and breaking you off. 2, in the case of red snapper, most of the time, 362 days out of the year, you can't keep them anyway. But my customers don't care because they're catching tarpon. We're not keeping tarpon. They're catching snook out of season. We're not keeping snook out of season. We're catching oversized redfish. They're not keeping oversized redfish. All they want to do is they want to pull on a fish. So if you are the type of person that just likes to go out and catch fish, you can go out and catch these red snapper and have a shot at a cobia or a whatever else that happens to be swimming by, a king mackerel, whatever happens to be swimming by, and not do much damage to these fish. We pull the fish up, take a quick picture. Sometimes we don't even take a picture. Sometimes we just leave them in the water and just unhook them. They turn around and they swim right back down. I don't have to I don't have to vent them. I don't have to put them on a descending device. We simply leave them in the water, pop the hook out of them, and down they go. They're in that good a shape. And it's because you didn't pull them from 75 or 80 feet down. You only pulled them from 35 feet down because they're suspended a lot of times over the top of that structure. But in cases like now, when we do have a lot of cool water out there, a lot of times the fish will be much, much higher in the water column, and so it is easier to do that. Or in the case of like mangrove snapper, mangrove snapper gather in big schools in June, July, and August. And if you find a school of mangrove snapper, a lot of times they'll be up off of the top of that structure as well. So just hop around from spot to spot until you see where the fish are. And sometimes take a wreck like the lead wreck as an example. The lead wreck is very close to the FSFA, CFOA, CCA, pyramids, and those artificial pyramid reefs that they put out there. So you pull up on the lead wreck. Well, the lead wreck's 200 and something feet long. I mean, it's a big wreck. But you don't necessarily know, well, do I want to fish the center of the wreck? Do I want to fish the east end of the wreck? Do I want to fish the west end of the wreck? So I pull up and I circle the wreck and mark it with my sounder and see where the fish are hanging. And generally, once you learn your depth sounder, especially if you have side scan on it, you can tell the type of fish simply by the return you get. With a typical old school, let's call it 2D down scan, you mark fish, but you don't really know what you're marking. with the high resolution side scan and down scan technologies, you can almost get a shape of the fish. And in many cases, you do get a shape of the fish, and you can tell what kind of fish it is. So, well, these are mangrove snapper that are holding on this part of the wreck, and this is red snapper that are holding on this part of the wreck. And over here, we might have an African pompano, or we might have permit, or we might have a cobia, or maybe there's a bull shark down there that's got 3 or 4 cobia following him, which happens many. And you can mark that on your sounder very easily once you learn how to dial that thing in and interpret what the marks are that you're seeing. So I know you guys have all seen on a lot of my posts on my Fine Line Fishing Charters page, sometimes on the Catch a Memory page, but you'll see where I'll post up a picture of my sounder and a school of snook or a school of drum or a school of tarpon, and you can see the actual shape of the fish. And that's what I'm talking about, is being able to determine the type of fish before you ever drop a bait down to it. And a lot of times that determines what you want to drop down to it. As an example, if I mark mangrove snapper, let's just say I pull up on the lead wreck, and I mark mangrove snapper. I'm not dropping a whole pogie down to those fish. I'm going to start with a cut piece of pogie, or I'm going to drop a shrimp or something, a finger mullet or something smaller, because they're a smaller fish in general. They're 5 pounds or less normally. Every once in a while you get one that's 8 or 10 pounds. But most of the time, a mangrove snapper's 5 pounds or less. He's going to eat a smaller bait. You mark the red snapper. Well, the red snapper are all 5 pounds, 4 or 5 pounds, up to 20 pounds. So obviously they can eat a whole pogie. You can drop the whole pogie down to them. You mark the cobia on whatever part of the wreck, or you mark him, near a shark. You know that he can eat a whole bait. But the nice thing about the cobia is, a lot of times if you'll put a free line bait out, the cobia will go up and down in the water column. The snapper do a little bit. The red snapper do a little bit. They'll come up high enough that you can actually eyeball them. The mangrove snapper typically don't, unless you get them chummed up. So you want to chum those fish to the surface. But you can determine what size bait, what size hook, what size weight, based on what your sounder is telling you. And so that's one of the things when we have cold water, that it helps you by catching fish that are already up in the water column in many cases. And you don't have to worry about them getting you down into that structure because they don't want to go below that thermocline line. So long story short, learn your sounder, learn where to put your bait in the water column. And if all else fails, make sure that you're running a float line out there as well while you're bottom dropping, because that kingfish, that cobia, that giant red snapper, that 20, 25 pound red snapper will come all the way to the surface and strike a live pogie that's either slightly weighted or unweighted and just dangling back there in the current. So anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about with this cold water this persistent cold water that we're having right now offshore, is that you guys and gals don't take that as a sign of you don't need to go fishing. Take that as a sign of you need to utilize that to your benefit. And once you're able to utilize that to your benefit, you will start catching more fish. We're going to take our last break of the day. When we come back, we got a whole lot more Catch a Memory, so don't go away. We're going to be right back after these messages. Hey, guys and gals, welcome back. We appreciate you tuning in every Saturday right here to Catch a Memory Outdoors. This segment of the show is brought to you by the guys and gals down at Strike Zone. So if you need any of the cool gear that we talk about during the show, or stuff that you lost last weekend when you went fishing, get out there and check them out, and you guys and gals are going to be impressed. And just remember, this hour of Camo is brought to you by the guys at Carroll Distributing, your local Bud and Bud Light distributors. So check those guys out. One of the things that I want to tell you about this promotion that we talk about with Anheuser-Busch and Carroll Distributing, it's raised over $33 million to support scholarships for families of the fallen veterans and first responders through the Folds of Honors. That's pretty doggone cool. That's a lot of money. And, you guys and gals can obviously get involved with it, because Carroll Distributing is donating $1 for every case of Bud and Bud Light sold between now and Labor Day. So get out there and help support those guys and gals that support us on a daily basis. Speaking of one of those, Captain Jeff Kranick was a police officer for many, many years, and we've got him on the line right now. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning, guys. Happy July 4th weekend.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are Keys bound, huh?
We got down late last night.
Awesome. Awesome.
So, actually, in the afternoon. We were kind of shocked at the lack of traffic when we got down here. But
I think the weather has really kind of got everybody put off.
yeah, it's puffy out there right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're actually going to go across the street and meet with Captain Todd Munson and have some breakfast. We haven't seen him in forever.
Gotcha. Well, tell Todd I said, hey, we had a fantastic show that we did together from the Keys down there a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, it was a good show. Hey, the reason I called in real quick is I wanted to give a shout out to some of the show friends of the show.
Uh-huh.
First off, the guys up at Lamb Deck.
Oh, definitely.
I gave them artistic freedom when it came to putting down the flooring on the boat, and it came out absolutely gorgeous.
They do a fantastic job. I have been just thoroughly impressed with what they've done on my boats.
And then secondly, Rusty over at Butt Tracks.
Yep.
I always get that one wrong. He redid the entire boat for me, and again, I gave him the freedom to what's best for me, and I don't have a lot of stitching and a lot of fancy stuff, and he made it to last, out in the sun.
Oh yeah.
So
yep.
Yeah, and shout out to Rusty for that one.
Yeah, he's redone my boat. I'm getting ready to have some more work done from him on another part of my boat, because obviously vinyl doesn't last forever, but they do a great job over there.
Well, I changed up the color scheme a little bit. He did a great. Both of those guys did great jobs. I can't say enough about them.
Yep, they do. They certainly do. Well, what's on Jeff and Leslie's game plan for catching fish over the next couple of days?
Well, I'm going to get this place, the house, in order a little bit, and start hitting the bridges for snapper, and we'll see what happens.
Gotcha.
The plan is we have no plan.
Well, that's perfect. That's normally how you catch the most fish.
Yep.
You just look at what the day gives you and call an audible as you need to.
That's right. And like I said, we've got no plan. We got halibut? Yeah, Leslie said we brought some halibut down as a backup.
Well, that's not a bad backup plan. Hey, I made some ceviche out of the halibut that we brought back, some of the halibut that we brought back. And that turned out pretty good. I'm going to tweak it next time, just a little bit. I made it per the recipe that Robin found, and I'm going to do a couple of things to it. Don Petrucci, actually, when he and Captain what was his buddy's name? Captain Tony, that was with him, that came down and fished with me in the Keys. We made some ceviche down there out of some of the yellowtail that we caught, and Don actually used hominy and sweet potato. And I asked him, I was like, why? And also edamame. And I asked him, I said, why? And he goes, the Peruvian way of making ceviche is just kind of use whatever you have available. And in messing around with that, apparently he's got somebody that's Peruvian that he knows. And in messing around with that, they came up with these different taste profiles. And I was really surprised at how good, like the sweet potato as an example, went with the fish. It was
when I was first exposed to ceviche down here, it was made like you said. Oh, what do we got in the fridge that we could chop up and serve as an appetizer? So,
yeah. He actually didn't. It actually wasn't sweet potato, if I remember correctly. He bought like these pre-cut yam patties. So it wasn't actually sweet potato; it was actually yam that he had in there, along with the cilantro and the onion and the lime juice and the various other things. But I was really surprised at the flavor profiles and how well they went together with the fish. So I think I'm going to try implementing some of what he showed me when we were down there in May in the next batch that I make. So we'll have to all get together and give it a try.
Did you get that recipe that Leslie sent out for the halibut?
With the one with the spruce tips and all that on it?
No, which one was that, hon? The orange marmalade halibut?
I'll have to check.
Oh,
if it's on the group text, I got it.
Yeah, it's to die for. So, real quick, and then I'll let you go. How's everybody up there with the finally over the flu?
Everybody's getting better. Yep.
Yeah, I was telling Blair before we left yesterday. He gave me a text saying he was about 90% back to normal, and I broke out in a sweat that night before.
It's the gift that keeps on giving. This particular strain of flu is not a fun one to get. That's for sure.
Well, buddy, we're going to make our way across the street, and we'll talk to you in the next couple of days.
All right. Well, you guys enjoy yourselves down there and send some pics.
Tight lines, everybody.
All right. Thanks, bud. That was Captain Jeff Kranick calling in from Tavernier, Islamorada area. So we might have to go down there. He's going to be down there the rest of the month. Might have to go down there and hang out with those guys for a couple of days if I get the opportunity. He's thrown an invite out there, but we'll have to see if we get a break in the fishing windows or whether or not we can get down there. I'd like to get out with Captain Todd Munson, who we had on the radio show here a couple of weeks ago. And if you guys missed that, we were broadcasting live from the house that we had down in the Keys for the month. He is a local guide down there, and he also fishes with Jeff Kranick, or fished with Jeff Kranick up at Baranof Fishing in Alaska, which is where we just got back from with Jeff and Blair and our wives. Todd was a guide up there for a number of years, and he also guides down in the Keys. So he had a really, really great knowledge of what goes on in that Keys area. I want to get down there and do some fishing with him and do another show with him here sometime, hopefully by the end of this year. But we'll see if that comes to fruition or not. But just a really, really good guy. Grew up down in the Keys and knows those waters really well. But if you didn't hear that show, you can go back, go to Catch a Memory Outdoors, click on the archived tab, and you can run back through. And that show was the actual, I think it was the last show in May, was the show that we did there. We also did a show with Captain Randy Tao out of Islamorada Fishing Outfitters and Greg Dornew from Starbright, where we had some great conversation about tarpon fishing and various other things that we all like to talk about. That was the second week, I believe, of May. So you guys can go back and listen to that on those archive shows as well. And like you say, we've got probably 10 years worth of archive shows on that platform right now. So if you miss any of the shows, you can always go back and listen to them over again. And just very, very simple. Just go to catchamemory.outdoors.com, click on that archive tab, and pick the date that you want and check them out there. You can also check it out on most of the ones in the last 3 years, 2.5 to 3 years. You can check out on the YouTube page, Captain Jim Ross YouTube page. So if you, like I said, if you're interested in any of that stuff, you heard the show, want to go back and listen to it again, all of that information is there for you. And until next week, do exactly what I'm going to do. Get out there and catch yourselves a memory.